About a month ago, I was scrolling on Instagram and I got an ad from Paramount Ads Manager, which is their tool that lets you place ads on shows and apps. Um, so think about Paramount. I want you to think about it from their perspective, right? They run this thing called Paramount Plus. We've talked about it a lot on the show where, they're doing this whole thing where they're buying Warner Bros. Together. I promise, Benji, we're not talking about that today. So, get back in your seat before you walk out the door here. They make money two ways, right? And this is true of pretty much every streamer, YouTube included to some extent, but most streamers are kind of the opposite of YouTube. The first way is you pay the $13.99 a month subscription and they take that money, right? And they turn around and they pay themselves and they pay their creators, right? The second thing that they do, and this is becoming more and more important, is advertising, right? Obviously, it's like TV. Cable had ads, broadcast had ads, TV and ads are like, peas in a pod. Now, on this show, we talk a lot about how advertising is becoming more and more important for these streamers, as I was just talking about. Now, of course, Paramount is one of those streamers, and that's why I think that this ad popped up in my feed, because to run an ad, they need two things. The first one is somebody who's watching, and the second thing is they need an advertisement to show. They're running a two-sided market there, right? So if they don't have someone watching, they have no supply of ad slots. And if they don't have someone advertising, they have no demand. So not only do they need to get subscribers, which is probably what most people think of when they're thinking about growing these businesses, right? They also need to get advertisers. And if advertisers aren't thinking about it, because the entire media economy is changing, people are advertising on TikTok, for example, then they might not advertise there. So there's lots of really bad pieces of conventional wisdom out there about how ads work in this new media ecosystem. And so Paramount, I think with this thing that I saw on Instagram, was trying to educate potential viewers about the virtues of spending money on platforms like Paramount Plus, which are called, and this is your term of the day, connected TV or CTV platforms. We talk about this a lot on the show. So that meant they put this ad in my timeline. It was actually a call to action to download a report that they put together about the state of the CTV economy. And I wanted to share that report with you guys and just kind of walk through it a little bit together. Now, a caveat before we get started here, the people who put this together obviously are biased a little bit in some way, right? They're running a platform where they want you to buy ads, right? But I've reviewed it and I think it does a pretty good job of citing high quality sources. They went out to third parties and got some things that they were not running a lot of these studies. They were just compiling this information. And it does a great job of compiling kind of these bigger ideas that we haven't gotten to talk about on the show yet in a way that I found useful as a guide to talk about this thing that we do talk about on the show, which is like connected TV on YouTube. So are you two ready to kind of go through this really quick?
Yep.
Okay. Let's pull up the shot of the iPad here. And you should be able to, Doc, can you see this all right?
100%.
Okay, great. So we're looking at the Paramount Audience Impact and Intelligence Report. Benji actually can't see it. I'm just now realizing.
It's okay.
Neutrally, if you could pull it up on our two-shot here. It says CTV versus social, where attention meets impact. They start off with this executive summary, but I'm just kind of going to scroll right past it because I think the details are the most interesting part of this. And the first section here is they say, putting your money where your audience is. And so, the graph right here that you see at the very top shows you the share of digital ad spend in Q4 of 2025. So this is just the last full quarter, basically, that they had of information when this was coming up. And they show you the amount of digital ad spend on social and on CTV right there, right? And they show you that CTV is pretty small here. It's growing, but small at 9%. Okay. And social media, this is like TikTok, Facebook, everything else you'd expect is at 31%. So it's getting outdone right now versus CTV. Now, of course, they're putting this here as a reference point at the very beginning of the piece because there's more to come. But when you guys see these numbers, do you have any reactions about this, about digital ad spend?
No, not necessarily. Not yet.
I have one reaction.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, like you said, you can view data any way you wish or shape or form. Here's the thing that matters to me. What is the ad about? What is the product? Okay. If I'm on the television and, Patagonia, they don't run an ad, but if they ran an ad on the television that said, hey, come and check out these new rain jacket because, you fixing to go to SeaTac and it rains like every 5 seconds over there and 3 weeks of Hawaii nonstop rain. Yeah, if I saw an ad about getting a new rain jacket on a computer, I'm at the computer. That converts. But if I'm watching Manchester United and I'm just like waiting for halftime to be over, that's not going to convert. So in a way, depending on my product, right? If I'm selling Benji's pizza sauce, I need that to be on social media because I have the phone in my hand and I can order it instantaneously. Benji's pizza sauce ad in the middle of my crime drama on 48 Hours. I love you, B, but I ain't buying no sauce. I'm trying to figure out if the husband did it or if it was the other ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I get it, but yeah, it really depends on what you're trying to get out of it. Some ads are for conversion. Some ads are for top of mindness. Some ads are, you're not going to know about it now, but when you get ready to purchase, I'm going to be the first thing to hit your brains.
Let me use that as a chance to skip ahead a little bit here, Doc, because what you're basically talking about is the funnel that as marketers create, right? Who's at the very top? Whose attention are you capturing? Who are you getting to the computer to do the search, to go to your website? Who are you getting to actually check out and give you their credit card information so that you can do a little exchange of money and product there, right? And they actually have a section about this, and this is in part 3, where they say from mood to ROI. Now, the reason that they're saying mood is because there's a section above this, which we're going to get to in a second, where they talk about the mood of the person who's actually on these platforms. And so neutrally, if you can pull up the iPad, I'll show you some of the statistics here that they have about this. So the first thing is that at the very top here, you'll see that they're talking about brand recognition. This is the top of their funnel. Sorry, I don't have the full screen here, but right here, they're basically saying, do you recognize the brand that's advertising in this scenario? And they're saying that, hey, if you advertise on CTV, 80% of people end up having, these are like who are engaged viewers, ended up being able to tell this in their study. 60% on social recognized your brand after the fact. So of course, bigger is better here, right? CTV is winning. Now this, I think, gets to what you're talking about, Doc, about the idea of a memorable view, right? I think that's what you called it.
Correct.
And so that then translates to the next stage of the funnel here, which is aided ad recall. By the way, this is the funnel here going down like this, getting smaller and smaller because not everybody's going to move to the next step. So once you get to this next step, aided ad recall, the question is, does connected TV drive stronger recall than social, or does social drive stronger recall than CTV? And once again, we see CTV wins here at 57% versus 49%. I think that this is pretty much the same undergirding philosophy as we see here. Now, the margins aren't enormous, but they're big enough to make a difference, maybe in terms of return on investment, right? This is where things, I think, get sort of interesting. And I would also say that, honestly, this is where it gets most arguable. But I do like this analysis here where they say at the very bottom of the funnel, they talk about this thing called an ROI multiplier. And so the question is, if you spend $1 on targeting, how much money will you get in return, basically, for spending that $1 on advertisements? And what they found is that on TV, more than, and again, I'll show here, more than digital video, more than paid social, more than display advertising, more than paid search, obviously more than radio, hopefully, CTV wins here at 2.1 times. So that means for every dollar that they're spending in their study here, the advertisers were getting back $2, $2.1 basically, right? $2.10. And so you can see here that this is their takeaway, so take it with a grain of salt. CTV helps your brand show up, stick around, and drive results from first impression to final conversion. Doc, since you led us off in this conversation, I'm curious about your reactions to what we're seeing in this lineup.
Oh, this is 100%. Okay. Imagine this. I got a long forehead about 16 head, and I go, dun, 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 dun. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes, yeah, that was money.
Right? If I start playing Jingle Bells Holiday Christmas song from Lexus, when you hear it outside of Lexus, you hear that song like in a standard classic plays, you go, you just start thinking of December to Remember, right? So yes, of course, like it does bring that stickiness. And, I just remember that once we lost radio, I feel like we did lose a little bit of that jingly type thing. I am so surprised on social media, more people don't do jingles.
Ah, that's interesting, yeah.
Especially after Nathan Ardanda and his skateboard and Fleetwood Mac. Listen, fam, when that song came out the first time, I was in high school. I just aged myself. But I love that song. I love Stevie Nicks, one of the greatest voices ever. But after I seen that commercial, I went deep back into my Fleetwood Mac listening and headphones, just rocking out to that song. And just gonna be really stupid. You know what I drank a lot 2 years ago? Cranberry juice.
Yeah.
It had Kettle One in it, let's be honest, but I drank a lot of I drank a lot of cranberry juice after that. So it worked, bro. It brought me back to a nostalgia of me and my friends in high school sitting around in our band garage trying to do Fleetwood Mac terribly, by the way. And it also made me think of football practice because we used to do Tusk, which is a Fleetwood Mac song with drums when I was like in junior high, making my way to high school. And I just deep dove into like Fleetwood Mac. And then also started buying the double jointed cranberry juice at Costco. So like it does work, but I'm surprised social media folks don't be doing jingles, bro. It would stick more. I can't think of one off the top of my head. Not a
Yeah, that is weird. But Tim, what you're talking about is the memorability there, right? And I'm curious about what your thought is about in terms of the memorability, in terms of the platform that people are viewing on, right? Or maybe the behaviors there. So beyond a jingle then, do you think that TV versus something like even like YouTube maybe has a difference in terms of that memorability?
Yes, and here's why. Okay. All right. This is gonna be a reach, but I want you to think about this real cap. TV now is YouTube. And this is where YouTube is going to shine. I used to say this when I used to coach my people, my creators. I used to coach them all the time, and they're like, "Well, I want to stream on Facebook and YouTube and whatever." And I go, "Okay, Facebook is going to give you a false sense of security, and here's why. You go to Facebook to talk to your friends. Maybe you're in a group for an app that you like Stream Deck or Final Cut Pro or ObsBot or whatever. Maybe the Ecamm fam group, whatever." But your intentionality is to go there to have a conversation, to argue with some people, spy on the ex, catch up with high school friends, send messages to family. When you go to YouTube for one thing and one thing only: watch YouTube. They only have videos, nothing else. The music and podcast side is there, but that's in the car. It's a little bit different. Your primary focus for YouTube is to go to YouTube to watch a video. So when Facebook tried to do Facebook Live, they tried to do Facebook TV and Facebook Watch, they never really caught the traction, even though at the time they had a bigger platform, because the intentionality to go to Facebook was this girl you got like at school, some project you working on, catch up with a fam, like all these things. None of it was watching video. LinkedIn tried video, still can't catch to this very day, right? All the money, all the CEOs, everything, LinkedIn still can't catch because to them it's the side salad. It's not the main dish. YouTube is like In-N-Out Burger. They sell one thing with a side of lemonade and some fries.
That's why when they tried to do Google Plus years ago, so this is kind of throwing shade to YouTube. I agree with you. What YouTube's good at is videos. So they should stick to videos. And they've actually done a great job. But when they started trying to do socials, failed. Even
Wave was,
Oh my God, forgot about Wave.
what was Wave?
I think it was a Google.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was a Google thing.
You know,
but it was after the one you said before.
even the recently, Austin told me they're trying to implement DMs.
Yeah, on YouTube, by the way.
I think DMs could work eventually, but right now, no one's going to care. In terms of the creator community, I'll tell you why. Because creators DM on Instagram, at least the ones I know. Even TikTokers. This is what's crazy. Really famous influencers on TikTok. If you want to get a hold of them, Instagram. Okay?
100%. So we can text each other. Benji and I will send each other messages on IG. We can text each other directly to our phones. But
No, exactly.
sometimes I'm like, here, this is funny. Oh, look, check this out. I thought you might like this.
There's already an expectation of what this platform is going to do for you. And if you just are honest about yourself, and I love that Doc brought up Facebook, because even though I do post to there, I know that even if I get a lot of views, and this is what I think you're saying, Doc, that false sense of safety or false sense of even succeeding. Look at the AVD. Now, I will say this. I probably get an AVD longer than most other people. So some of my Facebook live streams or videos are getting 2 minutes, which is a lot.
Yes.
Okay, for Facebook. But compare that to what I'm doing on YouTube, 18 minutes, 20 minutes. That is partly because of what Doc is saying. People go to YouTube not only to watch videos, but in the right situations, watch a lot of videos for a very long time.
Yes.
And this is why, you know, I know that we're going to be talking more about live streaming. That's why live streaming should work more on YouTube. Now, on that note, this is why Twitch is so successful because they're just committed to live streaming.
Yeah.
So just the way creators are successful live streaming on Twitch, they don't necessarily expect a lot of the evergreen videos or the on-demand videos on Twitch. They go and take that content and put it to YouTube.
Yeah.
So even YouTube isn't going to be the best at everything. I think they have the best chance though. And you know, proof of that is Shorts. Shorts was completely different type of viewing behavior. It was totally different than TikTok, but it worked. Now, when you ask somebody, hey, where do you watch your short form content? Just generally speaking, it's almost always going to be TikTok
or Reels,
but second to TikTok, right? Yes, Shorts is going to be way down. That's true. So I think for a creator, don't try to force something on the wrong platform. You know, so even though everyone said, oh, do short form here or do LinkedIn videos, right? I mean, like if you want to win at long form videos, it's YouTube. If you really want to win on the platform for most types of live, Twitch. Facebook, it's funny. You know what works there? Short form, quick hits when they want to escape, but quickly their mind turns right to, hey, what's my friend saying? What's my mom posting? You know, and so I mean, we started this conversation with CTV. What does CTV even stand for, by the way? CTV.
Connected TV.
Connected TV, okay. But yeah, this whole like advertising strategy, I'm kind of surprised that they get $2 for every $1.
Yeah, I am too, actually.
I have a theory about that. I'm curious what you think, Doc, and I know we want to move on to the next topic, but I think that TV fell out of style, fell out of fashion so much, and there was other places you can advertise so well that a lot of people moved off the TV. So if you stayed on TV for the right audience, it can have a really good ROI.
Yeah.
This is why I think the Super Bowl commercials are even more valuable.
Yes.
Right? Because people just are on TV as much. So if you're watching TV, because you know what's funny? It's novel to me watching the news on TV now. And I'm like looking at the ads, being like, huh, it's kind of like back in the day. And I'm just like curious what they're doing. Now, will I act on it the way I do on Instagram or on Facebook? I literally bought this tea tumbler once within like 45 seconds of seeing the ad on Facebook, okay? I rarely get like tricked by ads. But on TV, I am actually remembering more and more what I'm watching on those ads. And it's because it became so unique and rare for me to, one, watch TV, but two, the ads are just like, you know, it's not as varied, the advertisers, you know.
Totally, yeah.
I actually think for local audience, like a local target audience, TV does actually work. Because you know what I remember? My plumbers, the roofers.
Yeah.
I like all the different companies that I might need if I'm trying to do a repair on my home, and they're still on TV, good or bad. So anyways, that to me is kind of surprising, honestly.
They tend to have goofy commercials that you tend to remember too, right? Like,
and that was by accident, I think. Not.
Yeah, there's a roofing company here, and it's funny because their ads are super cringe, but yet adorable because they're family, and the daughter and the dad look alike, and like the daughter's about to take over the dad's business, and so they're like, once a customer, always a friend, like that, and then she hits the microphone and it makes this weird noise and nobody edits it out. So now like people walk around like saying that, you know, and it's Dave's Roofing and the daughter is Dave Lynn, super cute. So like if I had a hole in my house, I would probably call Dave and Dave Lynn because I feel like I know them because I've been laughing at their commercial for 8 years. You know what I mean? And my friend owns a roofing company. So sorry, Ronnie, if you happen to see this by accident, you know, I actually would call you because you would give me the discount. But still, I always want to bump into them at Costco or something and just like how adorable their commercial is. you know. And I think one thing that you said, Benji, about the 2 to 1. Here's my, I can speak from my survey, right? Every one of my platforms where I happen to still like their shows, I actually pay not to see none of them ads.
Mm.
If IG Premium existed, right? I might kick them 10, 12 bones a month not to have to see ads, because the current implementation of the UI, Meta, fix this, flick, flick, flick. You get to something that's an ad and you flick, it pulls up the interaction for the ad. If you want to skip an ad, you actually got to exit out of it. Because I have so many times accidentally went to this thing and I'm like, no, bro, I'm not having that kind of problem yet. I know I'm of the age group, but I don't need to take those pills. Thank you. Why are you showing me this ad? you know? Yeah, it's just really, really weird. And I wish I was Benji. The amount of dumb stuff I bought off of Instagram ads, like solar flashlights and stuff. Um, yeah, it was correlated with the cranberry juice and the vodka though.
Yeah. Oh, Facebook's the worst. What in terms of what he's talking about when you're flicking,
Yeah.
and then you flick up and it brings up the additional information, right? And then you try to like tap it and then accidentally tap the actual ad and then brings you to the
Yes, take you to the website. I'm like
there was all the trickery of ads, you know.
I think that the thing you guys were talking about, though, with the return on investment gets us to the next piece here that they talk about, which is how much the increase is in terms of people who are paying for CTV budgets. So if we can bring that up neutrally. Right here, you can see that they say that there's 71% of marketers who are increasing CTV budgets in 2025, pulling mostly, by the way, from social media down here. So they're saying half of the people who are pulling from any other budget in terms of their advertising budget are pulling away from social media and moving to connected TV. And so I think all of these reasons that you guys are talking about are part of the reasons why advertisers are more and more seeing this thing as attractive. And so as a creator, what you should recognize is that where the advertisers go is where the money's going, right? So you should really start, in my opinion, start thinking about the connected TV as a place for your content, because without landing there, you don't get to participate in that growth. And I think here's a couple of reasons why, like philosophically, that they bring it up. And Benji, you're gonna love this one. They talk about the time spent per platform. And you guys were just talking about this before. The first one that they talk about here is social media, where they say the average session length is about 8 minutes. They bring it up over here. This is the 8-minute session length. Here's what they say for connected TV. That session length is 99 minutes on average through their research. Now, on social media, they also bring up the number of hours per day. Social media is pretty formidable at 1 hour and 31 minutes. But here on connected TV, you see that it's 2 hours and 35 minutes. So again, connected TV is dominating sort of the total watch time picture.
Are they breaking it down by demographic? Is there a certain demographic here?
This is across all viewership.
Oh, wow.
For these statistics.
2.5 is for connected TV. So that could include streaming platforms.
Yeah, it includes streaming platforms and YouTube, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me at all. It's just, that's the expectation when you turn on the TV. Even if it's in the middle of the day, you might just let it play in the background. If you're watching it in the evening, I know this because my data shows it to me. The closer to the evening the video's life goes, the higher that AVD is. If I do,
bro.
Yeah, and good point. Closer to the weekends, it really skyrockets. So if you guys are not like following what I'm talking about, because I know that if you're just jumping in and it's like, what the hell is he saying? When I upload a long video or I do a live stream earlier in the day, any day of the week, okay, I get a certain AVD. Audience view duration, the amount of time they watch that piece of video on YouTube specifically. As the day goes on, closer to the evening, that number goes up. Now, in the past, 10 years ago, that number would have gone down. Why? Because if it's a good video, it's showing it to more people. It might not be your core audience. It might be people that don't even know you. So of course, they might not even watch as much of it because they're curious about it. They're watching it, but they're not that interested. And then they move on. So it drives it down. But right now, maybe they're just putting it to my core audience, not as much discovery. It just goes up and up. And then if I, like Tuesdays are days to do cooking live streams, closer to Friday. If it's Saturday in the middle of the weekend, you do see it go up. Now, again, there's other variables affect it. But why that matters for what the topic that we're talking about is because of the television.
Yeah.
Because the closer to the end of the day, more likely you're going to not only turn on the TV, but you're going to sit in front of the TV. And on the weekends, I don't know about you, Doc, but our TV, more and more now, is just on all day. Now, it's not always on a show, and we're not actively watching it, but it's just up there. And what's kind of interesting is, guess what platform we have up all day?
I imagine YouTube.
And guess what is up on there in the background usually?
Actually, I don't know.
Well, what if you had to guess? Music.
Oh, interesting. Music.
Okay. Like, they got these AI things like Hello Kitty's just hanging out with her friends. And it's like Judy can literally just say something random. Okay, Doc, tell me if this sounds like actual music or some gobbledygook. Play me bossa nova, chill, jazz, living room, soft tone, like kid music or whatever, right? And it'll find something. You want to talk about hallucination of AI? No, YouTube's like, hey, we're going to find you the closest thing. And then she go like, oh yeah, with Hello Kitty hanging out with her friends. Like, it's crazy. There's just so many options out there, and that's just playing. But what do you do if that's playing on the background and you're like, oh, I want to see a video of something? You're so close to just watching that video on the TV because YouTube is already up on the television.
Yeah.
And that's where YouTube is winning in a way that a creator can't even really fathom, especially if you're younger. You don't think about this. Maybe you don't even have a TV. I think most people are using TVs. It's just wild because those videos, which I always wonder, Doc, if they're even making money or not, like these, like AI music type of videos.
What is it called? Hip hop lo-fi girl?
Exactly, like that kind of stuff. I always wonder if they're making money.
I believe they are. I don't think it's as big as you think it is because their average view duration is so long or whatever. I think their CPM is low, but they ain't doing nothing, dog. So they are printing money. And by the way, if I remember correctly, last time I checked, that person has like 50 channels. So if your channel's only making $200, $300 a month, 50 deep, fam, and coming from Russia, where it comes from, yo, that person is making good money.
Now, I do believe this, though. It's probably the least competitive it will be, and that's part of why super long form creators are winning, but it's not going to last forever.
Yeah.
So everything that we're talking about, I always kind of like go deep when I notice this is the least I've talked in any podcast, but why this is important for me to rant about and talk to a creator about. All this data is just showing you that content on the television is really the big win. Yeah. What do we start with? We started with a connection, relationships, and being memorable. And now we're talking about like what ads are working. I mean, even the fact that they're getting $2 for every dollar spent. That doesn't happen on Facebook. You're lucky if you get $1.05, right? Right? You make 5 cents off your dollar. Yeah. And when you told me that, I thought you were talking about cable, like broadcast television. My gosh. So now I'm thinking if I'm going to advertise, you should advertise there. Now, we're talking about advertisers, businesses. Think about a creator. You've talked about this. I don't know if this is something we want to reveal. Should we run ads? Because we can target a specific audience. And a specific audience with this behavior watching more content, especially when they're obsessed and they want to learn and just want to let it play. So it's all kind of fascinating to me hearing you guys go through the data. My biggest takeaway is the television is still open season for creators, and there's not enough people doing it. So if you're doing it, you're seeing some pretty crary numbers.
Yeah, let me show you the last set of numbers here, and then I'll move on to the next topic, because there's a lot in this report. We can continue going through it if people are interested. You can also download the report yourself. I'll give you a link to where I got it from. But here is the last section where they talk about time and attention, and then later on they talk about mood, which I was alluding to earlier. And here is the ad completion rate for each of the platforms is the first thing you see over here. I'll zoom in on it for us. So on social media, you can see that the ad completion rate is 53%, right? So that means somebody's watching it and they're watching it all the way through. That even seems high to me, right? They're going all the way through. Search or display. So those are the ones that are on websites, the ones that you see when you're searching on Google and things like that. You may, I don't even know what it means to necessarily see a completion rate there, but I imagine there's some like level of dwell time that you're looking at it for that they count it towards. But they say on Paramount connected TV, and this is maybe slightly misleading because I imagine that most of the time on Paramount, there's like no skip button or anything like that. But a 96% completion rate is pretty dang high. So you're pretty likely to have watched the whole ad if you're watching on a connected TV, which, you know, maybe would be different if you're seeing that on something like YouTube, which has a skip button. Now, the ad video duration is similar here, where they talk about connected TV overall being like 23 seconds, social media being 5 seconds. We see this all the time in marketing circles where there's lots of concern about the very short amount of time they have to get their message across. And guess what? Like Doc was talking about earlier, a longer ad, just like a longer video, will mean something that's more memorable for you, whether that be a jingle or not, Doc. Here is the thing that I found most interesting. They went through and they actually measured brain alertness through each of these platforms. And on social media, they gave it half of the score. And again, I don't know what the units are here. I'm not, I didn't look this deep into it, but they did seem pretty proud of the fact that CTV had a much higher rating of alertness, actually, when it came to people who were paying attention or not paying attention to these ads. And so CTV wins in that case as well. The very last thing that they measured here is that about 90% of people who were watching on connected TV were in a good mood, where only 75% of people who are on social media were in a good mood while they were watching. So this whole picture here, from ad completion rates, which of course CTV wins, ad video duration, brain alertness, and moods on platforms, kind of completes the picture, right? You're spending more time with these things. You're happier when you're watching. You're more likely to watch the whole thing. You're more likely to be paying attention. And therefore, we saw those numbers at the end. You get a higher return on investment, most likely. And then also you are more advertisers are spending on it, like connected TV.
I mean, I can explain this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go top left first. If you can zoom in there. Why does Paramount have a much higher completion rate? 2 reasons.
Can't skip it.
Can't skip it. Or 2, if you can, you're too lazy to grab the remote, okay? So then let's go to the next one, okay? Add video view duration, same thing, right? You can't skip it, so it just plays and you just watch it.
There's no TV ads at 30 seconds.
Further, 30 seconds.
Sure.
Want to know why I know this? It's because literally I watch TV right now with my wife, a show on Paramount, and it's 30 seconds long. It's like, I know that, like, I have to wait 30 seconds, and Judy and I just laying on the couch waiting for it. And it's funny, we're in a good mood because we're hanging out in the evening together, about to watch a show we actually want to watch.
Yes.
A long form show, okay? Go to the bottom left now.
Brain alertness.
Brain alertness. Again, because we want to be there to watch that show.
Yeah,
it's funny, I'm also probably drinking a beer and snacking. Like, I'm just in a good mood, which brings me to the last one, okay? And this one doesn't surprise me too, because what do we see on social media? Way more than we would ever see on anything we're picking on TV. Negativity, politics, you know, geopolitics or the news or whatever.
Oh, you're obviously not watching Severance then.
Oh yeah, I don't watch Severance at all, okay? But I mean, I don't know what we're trying to say here, but there is, again, a huge takeaway for creators. I would love to hear your thoughts. Doc?
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, let me say just one thing. If you're a creator, creating content for the television, you can benefit from the same expectation behavior and just like the regular, like, positive mood, because you're on the television, you're creating content for the television. You know, our #1 obsession right now that we're about this close to making happen, 4K live streams. I'm using my Osmo and I love it, okay? How easy it is. Nucci and I, now we got these Obsbot tails, right? Yeah, I'm gonna bring them to my kitchen, Doc, okay? Because I know just like you ranted about the thumbnails not being high quality enough and looking like crap on the television, my live streams have to look as good as anything on Paramount, because when you buy a Sony TV, you just talked about whatever, you used to be a salesman there and you used to, like get the nicest, crispiest. So there you go. So, like if someone pays money for the crispy, they don't want the soft, okay? They want it to look so good. So anyways, it's just interesting because if you're just listening to this, you're probably like, why does this matter? Because honestly, I wasn't even like this when they started talking about this. But it's funny because we don't talk about what we're going to talk about on these shows. I don't know what Austin's going to.
You picked a math teacher as your co-host, dude.
Yeah. But this is why we work together, okay? I would say anything that I've been successful at in the last 2 years, it's been partly because he looks at the long-term strategy of it. Me, I'm just looking at the practicality and the reality of things, and we kind of meet in the middle. And what I'm trying to say here, when you look at this data, this is a whole new ecosystem that creators never got to play in because we didn't have the tools to be able to do it. We didn't even have the ability to be on the TV because the YouTube app wasn't good enough. Why do you think Instagram, Facebook, TikTok are creating TV apps? They're looking at this data, it's like, dang, we want a 30-second, like ad viewing kind of thing. We want a better mood audience on there because, this thing called brain rot is a real thing. So guess what? They don't just quit watching the ads, they quit the whole app itself. I've literally turned off all shorts on my YouTube.
Wow.
Like if I see one, I'm like out of there. The only time I want to is when I'm searching for something. I want it to be a super short video. By the way, short video. So that includes shorter videos.
Yeah.
It's got to be a short just because it's so good, okay? This to me, I don't know if you're listening to this and you're like thinking through the logic of all this, it'll make you want to quit being a short form creator and go all in on long form. And this is why we had Doc on the show, I'm guessing. This is your genius plan. Live streaming.
Yes.
Because live streaming at 4K or 8K one day will become the new TV. And when that happens, my gosh, because how long do people sit and watch sports for? 2 to 3 hours. How many ads do they watch? And then, Doc started this whole thing with like, oh, I remember when Benji was on there putting ice cubes on a pizza, okay? If you want that kind of memorability, then you've got to be hanging out with the people longer, and you've got to have the type of content that can actually go the distance. And the solution is not 100 TikToks, sad to say.
Yeah. Doc, what do you think?
It's actually less work, bro. Less work for an audience that's actually connected. Those 100 TikToks, no shade on the TikTokers. Game recognized game. You guys are busting gut. But Benny's going to have shorter numbers, but 200 people that would actually purchase something. If Benji came out with the BT Spice or something, people is lining up to buy it, right? If it's just the TikTok reels and like people like, I got my recipes from TikTok. And I'm like, man, I seen your recipes on TikTok, dog, and I am a damn good cook. I can't do the whole recipe in 2 minutes on TikTok. I need to go find the long form video where you get down and get down. So if you use it as a funnel to bring you down to go to YouTube to go get the full video or to buy the cookbook or to buy the spice, that's dope. But just creating content for the sake of creating content, it kind of doesn't make sense. And I did want to push back on one thing that these guys said. And this drives me crazy. This is a pet peeve of mine right now. 2 things. Everyone loves to talk about how short people's attention spans are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not true. It's you think it's short because we're doing short attention spanned things until we get to something that actually holds our attention. So we'll complain all week about short attention span, but I'm going to sit down for 4 hours to watch Kenny Mack and how Lonnie run all over people, right? And Chardonnay, whatever the heck that boy name is, right? We'll watch them run all over people, right? Stranger Things season 5 come through, for 2 days straight, I'm on the purple couch, moving, locked in. Go back and watch it again with my niece. Like, we're there. So it's funny how people like to say that, but you ain't really short attention span because it depends on what you're doing. And the other thing that they also kind of, I won't say it's fabricated. This is their culture. I understand what they're trying to get at. Benji would tell you commercials in Japan, 10 seconds. I remember way more of those. They're funny, but they 10 seconds long. 15 is a long commercial in Japan. They're like, Hachimitsu. What the heck? The commercial's over. But you remember everything that went down in there, right? So it's weird that they're trying to say this, and I kind of get the flex. And again, regular Paramount Plus, 9 bones a month. Paramount Plus, like no ads, is 13 bones a month, right? Or $13.99. So it's, let's just say $4 more or $5 more. And my credit card waives it anyway. So I don't actually watch ads on Paramount except on the sports games where they force it on you because you have no choice. When the Celtics are playing on Paramount, you got to watch 2 minutes ad before the game come on. And you know what I'm doing? I'm mad at them because they're making me watch it because I paid them not to watch it. So it's funny, and this is something that comes up a lot in live streams. And Benji, you said this last week. I'm yelling at you from the house, and Karen is like, Benji, can't hear you, Doc. And I'm like, yeah. Benji said, oh, I think I'm going to set my live streams where I'm going to turn off the ads because people are saying they're seeing too much ads. And I'm saying to myself, no, please, no. You work your butt off. You create valuable content. It's well worth watching. And I understand that some people can't afford to pay for premium, but that's the price you pay for where you're at. When you're creating, you're going to want to be in the side where more people are watching ads so that you can get your money for the value that you put out. This is how business works. This is how life works. If we want our kids to go to a better school, we pay to go to school. If we don't want to pay to go to school, we send the kids to regular school, right? If you want to get the better ingredients, you're going to go buy the better ingredients. If you want good, high value, quality content, you either pay the $2.99 for YouTube Premium as a student, or the $14 for YouTube Premium as a person, or the $24 as a family, which by the way gets you 6 people to watch them videos, or you got to watch ads. We can't create for free, bro. It's a lot. I got $2,000 worth of crap in this studio. 20 if I add the stuff that I don't use no more. I need to get paid. I'm sorry. Watch my commercials. If you don't, then don't watch my stuff. I'm sorry. I'm not that pressed, but I really get mad when people think creators should just do everything for free while they will watch TV. Or, let's just say Benji and Matt get together, they come out with some spices. Somebody gonna be in the chat like, oh, this is a money grab while they're wearing a Supreme t-shirt. I'm like, dog. Really? I will pay these guys for a shirt that they stole the logo from some other lady. I know, I forgot her name right now. But you'll pay, $400 for that crappy t-shirt, which is no better than the Hanes Beefy tee. But you'll be mad that my boys that tried to make a spice so that they can earn some money so they can feed my nieces. No, not acceptable. And I don't know why we as humans do that. We'll pay the higher end person with no problem and like almost sycophantically, but then when somebody that's at your level tries to get paid, you got something to say about it. I really don't understand that.
So are you pushing back on my comment I made previously about lowering my ads? Is that what you're pushing back on? Okay, so
100%, bro. So, you deserve to run those ads because you work your butt off. And more than anybody else right now, you're on the tube 4 or 5 days a week. I think you should let them ads be. And if people want to see it with no ads, they either gotta go to a Patreon or somewhere else where you offer it as ad free, or they got to pay the YouTube Premium.
So I'll say a few things to that. Number one, I always take it with a grain of salt, whatever I read in the comments. Okay. Because that was like maybe 3 or 4 comments, and everybody has to remember it's 3 or 4 comments of literally tens of thousands of views, if not 100,000 views, right? Like, it's like to literally like listen to 3 or 4 people, whatever, even if that percentage is higher than the views because, you got maybe 200 comments. But the second thing I would say is it is actually something smart to consider if it lowers your views. Because if somebody had the choice to watch a cooking show and they knew this other one, for whatever reason, had less ads, because as far as I know, there are abilities to control how many ads, right? You can
still for now.
Yeah, exactly.
You could turn it off and then you can start to place them.
So totally. And I didn't know that my editor, when he was uploading, he was just going complete AI, automated, and him and I.
Fault. It's actually not easy to go in and play.
Exactly, right?
YouTube wants to do it.
And I knew that.
Yeah.
So I thinking, you know what? I haven't done it, by the way, Doc. I haven't lowered the amount of ads because I agree with you. I should get paid. I mean, this is the behavior, right? We watch TV for our whole lives and watch all these ads and whatever, even if we complain. Everyone complains, oh my gosh, just when are these commercials going to end? But the third thing is really important. YouTube has always been good about knowing when they've stepped on the gas too much. And I trusted YouTube to know this. And this is why the AI tool, it was the fact that I didn't see comments literally for years. I have an echo. Literally for years. So when I started seeing them in my uploads, I was like, oh, people are getting annoyed, right? And that's like, what is that? Like creator principles 101. Don't bug your viewers, right? Like, don't do something that like agitates them. Like, hey, if I'm getting ready to watch and I'll just say the show, it's Marshall, right? It's like a break off of Yellowstone. And right now we're not really enjoying it that much, unfortunately, but we enjoy watching it still together. If they started like shooting up into space because it's a cowboy movie, right? And then they started doing Star Trek stuff, like my wife ain't having that. That's like a form of annoying the viewer, right? From their expectations. So that's only the reason. No, I agree with you. I'm keeping it on right now, but yeah, it would only make me want to stop if I really felt like the experience of watching so many ads was so bad that I would go somewhere else to do it, because I've been doing this long enough to know that does happen, right? Think about that. If like a good example would be Paramount, right? It's a streaming platform. I don't even see any ads. I don't know if it's because we pay something, but say like on the flip side, HBO, very similar types of content in terms of like the value proposition. But if I got like 15 ads through a show, and I've seen this happen with different platforms, I'm cutting it off.
Yeah.
If I pay money to watch content, I don't want no ads. So we sign up for the ones with no ads. So that's a good example of like, say we're paying the same price, but one I see way more ads, this one I see less ads. Even if there's the same type of content, I'm picking the one with less ads. That is a tell as old as time. That's why I said that, because ultimately I want to retain my viewers. I don't want to kick them out or push them away.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think I agree with the both of you, right? When I upload my videos, one of the things I've been doing is if I can, I build in breaks to my videos that are like ad breaks. So I'll actually build in something like a cliffhanger, like you might see on old TV. And to me, that makes the ad sometimes more palatable in the sense that like I'm setting it up, they're used to it, they're used to that format, and then they get to the cliffhanger and then it cuts, right? If you're someone who pays for YouTube Premium, then what do? You just roll into the next scene, and that's great, right? But if you're not, then you sit there and you sit through your little ad break. Maybe you get something to skip. If I was doing a brand deal, I would probably also place it there, right? But that's one way too that you can kind of smooth things over, is by like not letting YouTube place them at moments that are interrupting something, and rather like intentionally crafting something to like make those ads a little bit more palatable.
It's so hard to beat the algorithm or the AI though.
Well, it is in terms of the explicit return on investment for an individual video, which is where I ultimately land, which is that like YouTube, I trust YouTube to make good decisions for me. And like, it shouldn't be you brought this up last week, that YouTube says that their goal is to make it super easy as a creator to just upload your content. And if it's good content, it'll reach the right people, right? That was their #1 goal. Same goes for ads, right? You should be able to upload your content. You shouldn't have to be an expert in order to understand where those ads go, because YouTube should be the expert in that scenario, right? And so that's where I end up landing.
I think it's paramount on some of the larger creators who are sort of setting the tone as well, to kind of like tune the conversation, like let people understand that this is a business and we are all working. You know, when people say, oh, you just said that because the brand is paying you. No, they actually don't, because there's rules to that. But second of all, the brand pays me because they respect my opinion. The next brand won't pay me if I ruin my opinion by saying something that I don't really believe. And we have all seen creators that get sold out and get caught and they never recover from it. So it's not even worth doing, right? And then so many people, you know, I watch reading threads or whatever, and they're like, well, the brand is doing this because they're just trying to make money. And I was like, yo, I got a business degree, one in English and one in Japanese. And the first thing I learned day one, business is to make money. It's really weird to say that in the way that they say it. Yes, there is such thing as a cash grab, but all businesses are trying to be profitable. And I think people need to be reminded of that. The most lazy one this week that's driving me insane is, tomorrow's releasing the AirPods Max 2 and they're $549. And everyone is saying, how can Apple release a computer that's, $499 for the education price and then release a pair of headphones that are $549? Well, here's why. This is the bottom of the line computer. They sell a $12,000 computer. This is the top of the line headphone. They sell a $99 pair of headphones. You are comparing the Ferrari version of headphones with the Yugo version of computers.
Oh, I thought he was talking about AirPods. I was like, wow.
Yes, what's called AirPods Max 2, right? That's
Right.
the official title. But it's so crazy. And here's the other part that's so lazy about this journalism that's going down. The last model, $549. And the model prior to that, $549. And before Apple bought Beat, the top of the lines Beats, $549. Nothing's actually changed, dog. Like not a drip of it has changed. The price is the exact same price it's been for going on 15 years. But they're making like Apple is murdering somebody because they're making the jewelry piece for a price and they just released a really cheap computer. Not let them win for releasing this really amazing price computer, bro. $499 for a Mac is psycho. I come from Macs being $5,000. So $499 is amazing. They're not letting them win that. They immediately go back to try to fight Apple because they decided to make a headphone the same price as the one prior. I'm like, that is causing people to feel the way they feel about ads and commercialism and things like that, because people are making false fights because it gets clicks and it gets views.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Doc, I want to go back to something you said before, too, about the short attention span. My philosophy on that is that it's not actually about the attention span. It's more about the fact that there's more things that are competing for your attention, period, right? And so if something else is distracting you and grabbing your attention, well, of course, your attention span will be shorter, right? Because you are having something else that's competing for your attention.